Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Toure with Armstrong Aroids and Rare Plant Enthusiast. Uh, right there. I just wanted to take a minute. We're going to do this video here in the store instead of doing it at the house like we normally do. But before we get too far, got to remind those of you that are local that be sure to check out the Ecuagenera pop-up that's going to be taking place here on the 30th and 31st of July right here at Armstrong Aroids. So please be sure to check out that event. And what we're going to probably do is I got a few plants that I need to water, so I'm going to have you walk with me for a minute and then we'll water some plants. And then from there, we will do a quick little not pop-up, we'll do a quick little video, a little repot with me. Got a little potting station set up over there. And so we'll see how that goes and kind of go from there. Okay, let's water some plants. Okay, first one that I want to check on here is this Aroids. This is not a variegated, this is just a standard. Oh, look at that leaf. That leaf's terrible, but we're going to leave it on there because it's green and it's happy. But we're going to go ahead and water the Aroids. It looks like it's a little bit on the dry side. And this is a little bit different doing this on camera because I'm looking through the camera lens instead of looking through my, I guess, own eyes. And that takes a different type of talent there. Next, we've got this huge snake plant that we're going to go ahead and water. They don't need too much, but as you can see, it's looking a little bit dry down in there. So we're going to give it just a little bit here. And this time I'm actually not trying to look through the camera lens in order to water it because just not, feels weird, honestly. I almost felt like I was going to get motion sickness. Oh, we're a little bit out of focus there. There we go. Okay. Now, since the one snake plant was in need of some water, I'm going to assume that the other one is as well. And so we're going to give it a little bit here. Get down in there. There. Come back on this other side here. Let's put down that leaf there. Can't see that from your angle, but that's okay. Got nice little potting mats all set up. Good to go. All right, let's see what else needs to be watered. All of that looks good. This guy up here might get forgotten. Oh yeah. Let's give this some water. Okay. Good, just a little bit here. So one thing that you will notice is that everything that is in soil and has a fertilizer mix, probably slow release fertilizer mix in the soil, those don't get the solution mixture because we don't want to over fertilize, but what they will get is just some nice filtered water. And I don't really discriminate between the common and the uncommon and the rare in terms of who's getting filtered water or not. I just put it all in the watering can and give everybody some filtered water. And these guys, I don't know why he's doing so good because we certainly have our struggles with this one. I believe it's a black velvet. And it looks like I watered this a little bit too late. You should never let these dry all the way out because they'll act up on you. And in many cases they'll actually die. Yeah, he's super dry. Shouldn't let that dry out that much. Alright. But he'll bounce back. Not in a bad situation. Okay, we need to go grab some more water. So, kind of do a quick pan of where we're at. And maybe walk around this way take a quick look at the current standings on the prop exchange station. Got some fun stuff in there. There we go, this is better. Yeah. Fun stuff there. Alright. Let's head back into the shop. And then I'll be gonna... Oh, there's a nice shot of the wall in its current state. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna go and get some more water. Okay, here we are. We got another snake plant that looks like it's in some need. Super out of focus there. There we go. There's a lot of water. That's okay. Alright. Let's give this guy just a little bit here. Not too much. And then most of these plants out here in the common area, they have their pots that have the drainage in them. And then we've got drip trays to catch the excess water. And that helps a little bit just because we can, and we could probably even bottom drain with especially like with this one. That's a really cool little tray that you can get at IKEA, and it's super deep. So if I wanted to, I really could technically go like this and just drop some water in here, and then I could bottom water just like that, which isn't a bad idea, you know. And being that it might be a few days before I get back into the shop, most likely not, but just in case, we'll kind of just top everybody off a little bit. Give him a little bit more. I don't think he got quite his full serving. Okay. Alright. If I'm making you dizzy, I apologize. Let's see, let's get a feel here and see what's going on. Yeah, it's heavy, but it's probably because of the soil. We'll give it a little bit. Get in there a little bit like that. Not a whole lot. You don't want to overwater those guys. Probably one of my favorite common plants, especially because of the modeling. Variegated peace lily, but it's a variegated mottled peace lily, so it's got just that little bit of extra twist. And then got a Peru out here in the common area. Let's give him some water. It's a little dry. Okay. And I can never remember the name of this guy, but it's looking, the tips look a little dry, so I don't know. This is one I'm not super familiar with. Okay. Hoya's. Yeah, Hoya's super dry. If it was just a little dry, I probably would just leave this alone, but I'm gonna go ahead and water it. That is some slow draining swale. Interesting. Okay. And our tri-leaf wonder, also looking a little dry. See if we can get a better angle on it. See it. And then usually, like with our hanging plants, got a bad glare, bad angle on that. But usually with the hanging plants, what we'll do is we'll set them in a tray and bottom water those. I may do that while I'm doing the repot me part of the today's little video session. We'll see. These pothos are looking pretty good, but top them off just a little bit. This guy's looking pretty good. I definitely need to practice my skills with trying to water and shoot video at the same time. Okay, so we're going to go back and get more water, and we're just about done with this part, and then we'll jump into a repot with me. Okay, it looks like pretty much everything on this side has had some water recently. Kind of hard to tell with the donkey tail. So we'll give it just a little bit. Just everything around it feels like it's had some water, so I would assume that it probably has as well. But yeah, this is a little damp, so I'll give it a little bit more. And this way it looks pretty dry. We'll give that some, and let's give that just a little bit, because I'm not super familiar with the watering needs of Hoyas, because that's more my wife's department. I will just make sure that everybody gets a little bit, and that way she can do her thing when she's in the shop. The Monstera, give him a little bit there. Okay, let's get some of this over here. More Hoyas. While we're on the topic of Hoyas, we're going to try and bring in some more rare Hoyas. These ones are all kind of more on the common side, but we definitely want to bring in some more rare stuff in the Hoya department, because it's becoming increasingly popular and people are starting to ask for it, and there's nothing worse than not having something that somebody wants. Now this guy is super dry. That's not a good thing. Poor little Baltic. I think sometimes our Baltics get neglected because we have a lot of them, which isn't necessarily fair, in all honesty. And another Alocasia. Alocasias are, this one is dried out a little bit too much a few times, but I'm not a fan of Alocasias, I'll be honest. This is really just, we brought this in really just for decoration. Let's see, this is a Rapidophora, and it is also dry. I need more water. This is a big guy, so if you're wondering why am I giving it so much water, it's because it's a big plant. Yeah. Alright, I think those two will just, they'll make it. They'll be okay. They'll survive it. Alright, so that's good enough for the watering for today. We'll do more. Probably tomorrow. Looks like I will be back tomorrow, and I'll finish up. But let's go ahead and get into this repot with me. Alright, so a little bit different scenery today. Figured we'd try and set something up inside the store where after the store closes, I can do a little repot with me and kind of change up the scenery, and maybe in the background see the growth of the plant wall and perhaps whatever else is in the store periodically at that time. So cool little setup. We'll see how it works. So far it seems like it's working pretty good because I have a table that's right here in front of me, real small one, little lifetime table. And then we've got the counter that is here primarily for if we're doing some type of repotting work or something inside of the store that requires a counter, because there's only this, and let's see if we can pan this way, and the counter, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see that. My drink up there, it's kind of messy right now, but it's after hours, so let's come back. All right, so we got those two counters for working on stuff. kind of a bad glare because we get a lot of sun coming in from the west in the evening time, which is really good because, you know, off to the west is the sun, and then off to the east is a bunch of our rare plant cabinetry. So there's a lot of rare plants that are getting a lot of nice sun, and they seem to be liking it. In fact, a couple cool things. Let's see. Let me grab this real fast. Something interesting is that all of our aglaonemas, if I can pronounce that correctly, are, I'll go this way so I'm not in that sunlight, are blooming. Let's see if we can get in here. Or they're going to bloom, I should say. So you've got that flower right there, and it's going to bloom. And then take a look at this one, flower right there. It's going to bloom. So it's kind of exciting. Maybe I'll jump on YouTube or Google and figure out if you can propagate these through seed, or I lost the words, you know, mating is what we'll just call it mating. Can't remember the terminology, but if you don't, maybe drop it down in the comments. If I don't, hopefully I'll remember here in a little bit, but if I don't, mating is good enough for me. All right, so it'll be a shorter video. There's only a couple things. I'm only going to repot like 3 items. Really, this was just to kind of try out something new. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to throw this guy on a moss pole. This is a Scindopsis tricolor. Super pretty. That third color isn't coming out too much on camera. Make sure I'm not going to make a mess. Nope, not going to make a mess. But yeah, that white spot, we'll have to do something about that because that's a glare from the blinds. You can see me moving around, so we'll work on that. I think that for today, I think if I just sit in the right position, we'll be good. But if you ever see me and I've got like a little white spot on my nose, that's what that is. Anyways, okay. The other thing that we're going to pop back up is gonna be this guy, which I feel like it's a Magnificum Popularminum cross. I'm gonna have to look it up. At first I was thinking Magnificum, but it's kind of wide. It doesn't really have that Magnificum look, and then it's got some sharp silver veining, and it has a sinus, and the stem, the back of the stem is kind of, let's see which one we can see. Maybe this one. Nope, not that one. This one. The stem's kind of smooth, and then it's got that protrusion at where it gets wider towards the top. So I'll have to go back and do some homework and figure out for sure which one this is, but I feel like this is a Magnificum Popularminum cross. Alright, and if I'm wrong, I'll let you know. But anyways, we're going to, and it's pretty good size too. Let's see my hand there. See it up against there. But yeah, if you look at my hand, or if I go like this, like that, you can see that it's pretty good size. Alright, and then the last thing that we're going to work on is this little guy, little Adansonii, which is getting propped because it, I don't know, it was getting a little leggy. So it's already looking good as far as this huge root that we've got growing off of there. Get that to focus. There we go. And then it's got some fenestration already, but it's coming off of a plant that had a huge root system. So, and then it's got some leaves, so it's still gonna, there we go. Okay, let's see too much, but it'll still grow out, and it'll still be a good plant for later on down the road. I don't know, might keep it, might not. You know, for right now, obviously I'm keeping it because it's not really something sellable unless somebody just wants a cutting, and periodically we'll do that. We'll sell a cutting, actually quite often now that I think about it. All right, so let's get into this. I think that what we're going to do is I wanted to start with this tricolor just to make sure that I at least get it done, because it's in dire need of going onto a moss pole. Like if you look right now, it'll just sit like that, but it should actually be sitting up like that, and I don't want it to put too much strain on itself. So let's do that first. I was debating on if I want to put it on something that like a bendable moss pole, because we do have a few of those, and that might be something I think that might be fun just because we don't have anything set up on a bendable moss pole right now. But maybe I won't do that just yet, and maybe not with this particular plant, just because I don't want to, I don't know, I don't want to mess up and put it on something that I haven't used in this way before. I don't have the right stuff to set up the bendable moss pole in here, so I think we're gonna pass on that for right now, and we're just gonna put it in this. And I've shown this before. I love this setup because what you've got, well, this is close to the setup that I love. This isn't quite it. Oh no, this is it. All right, so what you've got is you've got your, wait a little bit, your sphagnum moss in the front, and then you've got there's actually two here. It's one that's folded over, actually, is what it is. So on the back it's clear, but you see the piece of wood that's in there? In between there is another layer of that thick clear plastic. So the wood is actually not inside the cup. The wood's not going to be touching the cup at all. So it's a really nice benefit, because you won't get any type of rotting in here, and if it does, it's not going to get into the plant and interfere with the plant at all. So big proponent of that. I've seen a lot of wooden sticks in cups and get rotten, and then you see that the areas around that area where it did rot gets really yucky, and I feel like that just can't be good for a plant. So we're going to do something like that. Now the one other thing is, so look at this cup. This is the imitation cup. I call it imitation because it's not a solo cup. We'll call it a solo knockoff. And then you've got, well, actually this is also a solo knockoff, so it's kind of even more confusing. But this is the one that I recently talked about in a previous video, where this cup is just as good as the solo cup. It's clearer, it's whiter, it's a better cup in my opinion. The base is wider, just like I talked about previously. And so I'm halfway tempted to just put it into this cup so that I'm not tempted to do it later. But I think honestly what's going to happen is this is going to outgrow this pole faster than it's going to outgrow this cup. So maybe we'll move it later on, and maybe we'll prop it later on. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to pour out this water. It's not the cleanest looking water, but it's really not that bad. Let me clean this out a little bit too. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put, whoa, these will fall over if you don't have any weight in the bottom of it. So we're going to put some luck in the bottom. This other cup left in it. Alright, and then what we're going to do, and we're probably actually going to put more luck in there because I want to make sure that the plant is able to sit, let's go this way, high enough on the pole to where it starts climbing the pole where it needs to, instead of having it sit way down low and then having your aerial roots, such as right here and here, not be able to make connection with the moss pole. Part of the goal is to activate those aerial roots so that I can give more energy to the plant's leaves, and then the plant's leaves will get bigger because it's going to have more energy to do so. But if I drop it all the way down into the bottom of the cup, like down in here, it's not going to reach, and so they'll be down bottom. But of course that's not so bad either, if as long as I have like some sphagnum moss in the top of it, kind of like how I do right here. And I may go that route too, because what will happen is the roots will then just, the aerial roots will just go down into the sphagnum moss versus into the moss in the pole. All right, so let's jump into this. And I don't think I have sphagnum moss here, which is weird. We need to order sphagnum moss. We don't have sphagnum moss here. We don't have sphagnum moss at the house. We don't have sphagnum moss. No moss. No moss. Right, anyways. So in that case, we're going to use this sphagnum moss, but we're going to need to get more. We're going to need to get more like going on here. Okay. And this is like super well rooted, so I'm really kind of fearful to get this out of here, but it needs to be done for the happiness and the healthiness of the plant. All right. Sorry about the noise, but look at that. Oop, more mess. And I missed my potting mat. But yeah, it's super happy. Good rooting system, kind of small roots. And maybe that's part of why the Scindopsis, I always want to say Scindopsis, but maybe that's part of why the Scindopsis tricolor is so slow to grow or to take off. Like once it's going, it's good. It's like, okay, I'm ready now, let's do this. But to get it to that point is kind of a pain. Honestly, I can't think of a better way to put it, because it's super slow to get to the point to where it's like, okay, yep, now I'm ready. Let's go ahead and do this. But hopefully now this guy is going to be at that point. And this is another thing that you're going to notice. I'm not going to try to take this out of the existing moss that it's in, because I would literally destroy that root system. And so we're not going to do that. We're just going to take it, transfer the whole thing from one cup to the other, and call it a day, as long as I don't break it, because I do not want to destroy that root system, especially with how difficult it is to get these to root the way that they need to in order to kind of start that takeoff situation. Now what I am finding is that this is being a bit of a pain in the butt in terms of, if you saw me like jump just a little bit, the water for the plant wall just turned on and it kind of startled me. Which is weird, because I don't really startle very easily, but for some reason that threw me off guard. Alright, so what we're going to do, because we don't have any extra leca right now, is we can't see the mess that I'm making right now, but this is not a good experience. Any moss here? No moss here. Alright. So I'm going to have to come back in and fill this in with moss later on. I think for right now my primary goal is going to be just to get it on this pole. So we're going to do that. I can't really see what's going on down here, but there, you can kind of see. because I don't have enough moss here, and because this is a little unexpected, but I do want to get this done. It's going to be a little bit of a less traditional potting situation. And we're going to fill that in with that, because I still want the leca to be able to wick up and reach the, sorry I'm speaking slow because I'm thinking at the same time, but wick up and reach the moss and the roots that are built up into that moss. But I really wish that I had more moss in the middle here, and I also think that I got to come down more because we need to get those roots on there. So all right, more mess to come here. Let's take this a bit further down in here for right now. Okay, so changing the game plan. Because the plant is not, so if you look at the distance between the moss pole and the nodes, it's kind of far. I don't want to put that much pressure on the plant. And so what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to just go to like right there. Let's see, go to like right there. And so we still have a little bit of distance here, and this node right here is still not quite below the surface level, which is where I want it to be, because I'm actually just going to go in and backfill this with moss. So we're going to drop it down, drop it down low, drop it down low, a little bit further. We'll still have enough of a water reservoir down in there, but then I should be turning it this way. There, we'll still have a water reservoir down in there, but this way I can get these first two nodes, or aerial roots, excuse me, to go into the moss that's in the cup. So we're going to fill it up to like right here, right about there, with moss later on. For right now it's going to be fine. We're just going to get it onto the pole, fill it in a little bit around the sides, make sure that the roots are happy, and backfill with more moss later on. Alright, I'm going to face it towards you, so it's going to be just like that, which is nice because it's also, so two things. One, let's go to this side. So this area right here, so where my finger is, all the way up, we're going to just fill that up with moss. And then we're going to attach it right here. And then that's going to give us the opportunity to give it some room to grow, so that we still have from here up in terms of growth, and we'll be in a good position. All right, should have thought that through before going on camera, because that was a mess. Gonna grab a little twisty tie. And we're back. All right, so one thing that I did realize with the twisty ties is it doesn't really take a whole lot. Let's go back down a little bit for a second. It doesn't really take a whole lot to get them onto the pole. And once they're on there and attached, you don't need any additional pressure. And so what I've been doing is I'm just going to take it and I'm just going to wrap it, I'm going to like this, kind of like that. And then we're going to create a little bit of a hook so that it basically hooks onto the pole. And I'm not even going to tie it up. I'm not even going to lock it in. And what will happen is the aerial roots are going to attach to it, and they'll actually do that part by themselves. I just want just enough. Well, maybe I'll do like one tie, but it'll be a loose tie. Just enough to where it's enough to support the plant, hold it in place until it has the opportunity to let those aerial roots take root. And ooh, this is almost in a situation where I could shingle it. Not quite, but That's okay. That's not my primary goal here anyways. Alright, so there we go. Okay, so we're good. So if we look at the back side, we can do that here. I'll cut this excess off, but see how it's like, it's super loose. We don't need that to be tight. We're just enough to hold it on until it has the opportunity to take root at that aerial point. So I'm going to grab some wire cutters, which will probably be scissors that I shouldn't be using, or cutters. Maybe I have wire cutters in here. I do have wire cutters. When you're cutting stuff like wire, use wire cutters, even if they're cheap and old and ugly, because you don't want to remove the sharpness of your I don't know, scissors that you use to cut plants with or to do propagations with, because the rougher that cut, let me get back to myself here. The rougher that cut is, the more damage you're going to do to that plant and the harder it's going to have to work to repair itself. And so if you can get a nice clean cut, you're going to be a lot better off. You're not going to do any damage, or you're not going to do as much damage to the plant. Alright, so there we go. This guy, I'm going to throw some water in here. It'll be root water for sure. And then it's going to be ready to go. Just going to tap the bottom just a touch. So then we have our reservoir in there so that the water can really just sit down there and not have too much of the roots in the water. But I've never seen them in this age or stage really care about being a little bit in the water, especially the way that I grow my plants this way. So they're used to this, and they like that little reservoir because they can just wick up what they need, and then plus the water can just evaporate into the moss and they don't ever really dry out unless I go a long period of time without it. The other thing that's needed is, as you can see, this moss pole is super dry. You know, it's been out of commission basically. So we need to get it wet. A couple different ways that you can do it. One is really messy. You know, you could just stick it over your modding pat. Should edit that out. Potting mat. Let's go back this way. And pour water in it. Probably not the most efficient way to do it because it's just going to spill out. And there's no need to get water up there because there's nothing up there yet. So that's one way to do it. But my preference is with a sprayer. Let me grab one. Be right back. Okay, so here's a sprayer. This one, it's not the Home Depot sprayer, but it also is pretty good. I got it because of two things. One is it does have the metal shaft, which I do like. Two is it does hold pressure better than the one that they sell at Walmart, which I hate. And then three, it's got the metal nozzle on there, which I also like because I'm always adjusting that depending on what I'm spraying. So like if I want to spray the wall and get a particular plant, I don't know if that's showing up on camera. Nope, not on that angle. Let's see, maybe if we spray, we'll just spray in that general direction. Oh, not what I wanted to spray. Hopefully, I'm gonna have to shut the lights off, but anyways, yeah, you get the idea. If I want, whoops, it's terrible. We'll have to edit that. No, I'm not even gonna edit that. It just happened. But yeah, if you want to spray a long distance, you can. And then if you want a more of a fine misting spray, I can't really see that either. Let's do this. Let's get it all the way in there. All right. It's more of a fine misting spray. You can do that as well. Maybe I can go this way where you can see it. There you go. So that's a nice fine mist there. So that's one option. But with this type of a situation, when I'm actually watering my moss pole, what I'll do is I'm going to go in here like this. Let's see if I can do it on camera. And I'm just going to hit it just like, we'll go like this so you can see it. Just like that. And I'm really going to get primarily where I know that I'm in contact with the plant and the pole. If it's somewhere that the plant and the pole aren't in contact, there's really no need to water there unless you are trying to A, create a little bit of moisture and humidity, or B, maybe get the moss pole to stay a little bit damp, which is also something that I don't mind doing. One thing that you will notice though with this particular setup, if you do happen to do it this way, because the moss pole is on the outside of the cup, you're going to make a mess. Unless, so see the mess there, unless you have another cup that you're setting that cup in. Do I have another cup? I can set that cup in. So you'd want to kind of double it up like that. Whoops, you couldn't see that. Let's go back. Alright, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your cup, take this cup, and double it up. That way, when it drips down, it's going to drip down inside of the cup because it's on the outside. And as you spray water onto the pole, it's dripping down to the outside of the cup. But if you have another cup in there, just like that, it's going to catch it in the other cup, and you'll be good to go. So that's the plan for this, and I should have done that beforehand, but this tricolor is now in a happy place, and it's going to grow and do wonderful things, and we'll just watch it do that. Okay, so now that I've created a huge mess, which is also why potting mats are so good to have, because I can contain my huge mess. There we go. Let's move on to the next thing, which is going to be this Magnificum Populum cross, as I'm going to call it. And I kind of feel like it's liking this tall vase that it's in, and so I think I'm going to leave it in there. Alright, so it's growing out its root system. Obviously, this was imported, so we've cut off all of the old roots that were not doing good and got mushy, and it said, oh, I need more roots as a result, and it's putting out more new roots, and it's looking pretty happy. So we're ready to go ahead and transition this into a leca moss mix, and I don't have moss again. Right, we're going to transition this into a leca mix, and so we're probably going to use the rest of this leca here, and we'll drop it straight back into this vase and let it do its thing in leca. And so I need another cup to put this water in. Alright, so let's do this. Carefully drop you back in there for a second. Okay. So now I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to pour the water in there. And so I don't know if this is just a personal, we'll call it a non-pro tip, but what I like to do is if I'm dropping a plant where the root system is close to the size of the cup, I'll typically spin the cup just a little bit because it helps the roots drop into place without getting snagged on the side of the cup, just because I don't want to damage that root system, especially when it's a newly acquired root system. So now we've got that ready to go. We'll set this out of the way for a second. And we'll drop some leca into the base of this. Actually, let's pick up all this other leca first. This is going to be loud. Maybe I'll pause it. Hold on. Okay, it's still probably going to be a little bit loud, but this way you're at least going to be able to see the process of what this is going to look like when I drop the plant in, and then we put the leca in there around it. First off, we have our little water reservoir there, so got that going on. Then we're going to do a little spinning motion. Whoa, that was almost bad. Go right there. So this is going to give us the opportunity for there to be a water reservoir, and honestly what's going to happen is the root's probably going to go right down into that, and that's okay. That's not a big deal. It doesn't mind. But it'll give us some room to grow. And this is going to be loud, so I apologize, but we're going to drop this leca in here. And we'll probably turn it around. Drop some on the other side. Let's see, it's going to work. We'll go to this side. And go to this side. Okay. And we still have a big gap right there. So we're going to need to solve for that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and shake it just a little bit, but let's see, we're supporting the top part of the leaves so that we're not doing a lot of harm to them as we shake this around. We're just going to shake it up a little bit, try and fill in some of those gaps. There we go. All right, so now we've filled in all of those gaps. And we've got some pretty good root system going in there, and we need a little bit more leca, but not much. So we're in pretty good shape here. So let's grab some more. Moss in the bottom of it. I didn't realize that. Now, let's just pull it in the rest of the way. That should be pretty good. Alright. Just going to tap it. Now, obviously, there are some plants where you certainly don't want to do that because you will shake all your leaves right off of your plant. But this guy's got a pretty healthy stem and pretty healthy leaves, and so we're going to be okay. Definitely not something I would do with a tie, especially a newly rooted tie, because it may decide to just take a whole leaf right off, stem and all. Alright, let's see. Let's do a little bit more in here. Right past that other point there. Okay, a little bit of help, and now we're good. All right, I feel pretty good with that. And it's going to be okay if there's a little bit of an air gap in there. So we have a smaller air gap right here, but it's kind of like grass. I've talked about that before too. What's going to happen is this arrow root is going to continue to go down and seek water, and so it's going to grow, and eventually it's going to get longer and longer, just like that one is, and we'll be in good shape. So now, because it was really happy with the water that it was in, the root water mix, advertisement, because, maybe we'll cut that out, I don't want to get sued by them, but which is okay. I mean, it's good for the environment. I am repurposing, not recycling, but repurposing. Because it liked this water and there was no problems with this water, it's fine. It's probably even just new. I'm going to go ahead and put it right back in there. And then one thing that I like to do when a plant is still growing out its root system, and I've talked about this before too, horrible glare. I don't know if I can fix that. But what I'll do is I'll take the water right up to, can't fix that glare, but I'll take it right up to that root system. And as it continues to grow roots and go down and the roots get stronger, I'll also decrease the water level. And that way the roots will grow to get stronger. And I don't know, for some reason that's just been really successful for me with my plants. All right. So now we've got 2 out of 3 done. And I was like, we're only at 5 minutes, but no, that's definitely not true. Let me put this guy. Let's put him just like that. All right, last one is going to be this. And I think what we're going to do is this super good rooted one. Actually, these could both go in a cup of leca. But I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold off on this one because I really prefer to have these in a leca moss mix, and I don't have any moss, and so we're going to wait on that, and I'm going to do that part at home when I get more moss. So for now, it's probably just going to sit in this water, which is going to be okay because it's been in water, and while it's been in water just doing its thing, it's actually putting out a really nice root system like I showed you earlier on. You know, it's not a bad thing to have something rooting in water before you transition it into the medium of your choice or the substrate of your choice. So we're going to close it out right there, and I'm just going to say thank you so much. This setup actually works pretty good besides the mess that I made, and so maybe I'll shoot a few more videos from inside the store and see if we can maybe do something about the background a little bit so that you can get a little bit more of the plant wall, and then also maybe do something about the lighting, because clearly, you know, I don't mind my head being shiny. If maybe there's people out there that do, I don't care about that. But the spot on my nose and then the periodic, I can't even get the glare now, the sun's gone down a lot, but the periodic glare, obviously that's not favorable, so we'll see what we can do about that. But yeah, this has been fun. Toure, Armstrong, Aroids, rare plant enthusiast, super excited, lots of fun stuff coming up. Maybe we'll have some footage for an upcoming swap that we're going to do here, be a parking lot swap in the shop, just to kind of bring some more attraction and exposure to where we're at and where we're located. And then we've got the Equigenera pop-up coming up soon, so there'll definitely be some footage for that as well. So lots of things happening. It's all happening pretty fast, but it's all super exciting, and I just hope that you're there with me to enjoy it. So yeah, stick with me. If there's anything that I can maybe put out for you content-wise that you might want to see, I would love to do that, because really I want to give content that you want, not give content that I think you want. So drop down in the comments. Let me know what you like. Awesome. Thank you so much. Enjoy.